think it's good for them. And we see a lot of more inclination from the younger generation, or even the kids, because they have so much of access to knowledge. Before, for a person to be inclined, or maybe trying to get information from, say, a book. If you wanted to take some information of the book, maybe 20 years back, or 40 years or 50 years back, you would have to go to a priest which knows Sanskrit. And it's actually a boon in terms of today. But I studied in an English medium school where I have the advantage of speaking English and Gujarati and Sanskrit and Hindi. So it's easier for people to communicate with me. Or we have the books which are in English. We have the books which are in French. We have books which are in other languages. So that exposure has given the opportunity for the younger guys to see life in a different manner, rather than just seeing one part of the life, or just before, when people used to just go to college, they used to go to college and that's about it. They didn't have any other source of information until they finish up college and come to the temple when they're done with their work or whatever. And then they could find out something, and then it was again too hard, because then they had to go through the scriptures, which were in Sanskrit. And it all depends upon who is teaching you the thing. So if you're not getting the right information, then you head towards something else. And today, because there's a whole radius of knowledge, so a person has if a person has the vision, he can choose the right direction and where he wants to go and proceed. So I think it's better than what it was before.
That's great. That's good. Now, in addition to being the original Swaminarayan Sampradaya, what distinguishes your sect from the secondary sects?
As things expand, as you see in the corporate world, you would see that people who are working, they tend to start their own companies because they also have the ambition of going further and moving forward fast. The thing is, the human brain, I feel, tends to religion for us as in Hinduism or Swaminarayan Sampradaya teaches us to be happy with whatever God has given us and be contented rather than being too materialistic or too wanting. So if a guy goes in front of God to do his daily prayers, he's not asking for anything except to give him the devotion to be close to God. So that's what it's all about. But the basic rat race you see in today's world has also affected religion in some sense. So what has happened is a person who has maybe some more skill, they try to develop their own kind of culture or tradition, which is not according to what the original inscriptions of Sanatana Bhagavan is. The basic difference is in the temple and in the temples that are in the houses of the satsangis. Our basic ethics of the original Swaminarayan Sampradaya is you pray to God and only to God. We, as in the Acharyas, stand to the highest of all, our position stands highest after, you can say, God, because we are the head of the saints or the Haribhaktas or the hundreds of thousands of devotees around the world. But they cannot keep our picture in the temple or their own temple, because all these satsangis have their own small temple in their houses. If you go and visit any of the houses in India, you'll see a small temple in the house where they have the idols of God and stuff. So the original teachings of this Sampradaya was to devote yourself towards God. No matter how big the person would be or how big the saint would be, the saint or the Acharya or anyone else is showing you the path towards God. He can show the path towards God, but he cannot be God. So our basic principle is that there is always a difference between the creator and the creation. For example, a creator creates something, but the creation cannot become a creator. If a person makes, say, if a carpenter makes a table, then might be the table will be too beautiful enough, but the table cannot become the carpenter. So God has His own place, no matter what, how far the creation goes. The creation can never become a creator. So the creator remains and sustains his own value. So our principle basically of the original Swaminarayan Sampradaya is that no matter how high a devotee goes, he cannot become God. He can come close to God, but he cannot become God. So the difference would be in our temples, rather than any other sect. I wouldn't like to say anything wrong or bad against them, because there's their own faith or belief or what they want to do, and they're independent to do that. But we believe that our temples, or the temples in our houses, do remain only with the idols of God and nothing else. No matter how big the saint is, no matter how big the Acharya is. Okay, you can put the saint or the Acharya in the corner as a picture. You cannot pray to him in terms of devote yourself or do dhyan or profound him near to God. So that is the basic difference. Whereas if you see anywhere else, the different parts of the diversified people who have, come out of the religion, of the original science, they have started, they have been doing that. They place saints or other people in the temples, which is not according to the ethics of any religion. Because even in Christianity, even in Islam, even in Buddhism, how big a devotee would be, they would keep him in the monastery or the church or in some corner as a remembrance. But they wouldn't put him next to Jesus, or they wouldn't put him next to Buddha, or they wouldn't put him next to whatever God they're praying to. So God always remains God, no matter how big a devotee is. It has its own place. So he cannot just come and stay at that. So that's what it's all about.
Now, are there any major issues you have with the other sects in regards to how they conduct their practices or teachings?
They have modified or maybe changed a few scriptures according to their own requirements, and that happens. So we do not have issues in terms of fights or anything. It's their way of doing things. Let them be happy if they are happy, as long as they just be happy. We wouldn't like them to bother us, and because it's totally a different school of thought, which is not according to the scriptures. So I feel, sooner or later, there are people who come back who see religion, who see God. They come back to us and say, maybe we thought that this is not right, but then they're doing it their way, then we don't have any. Ethically, definitely, yes, but not in terms of we would like to go and say anything